Hi, you guys. This is Miss Vinson, and we are going to be looking at the questions over Student Council, your ticket to involvement. Before you move on, please make sure that you have this sentence stem filled out, as well as you have cold read this text. So if you did not do that, you need to pause this, do that before moving on. All right. So let's go ahead and look at question 1. It asks what is the correct way to write sentences 2 and 3. So the first thing you want to do, you guys, is go back and look at sentences 2 and 3 in the text. So I've underlined sentences 2 and 3. It helps me see the sentences better. And as you're reading this, you want to ask yourself, are both of these sentences correct? Are they complete sentences? Do they have the grammar that they need to have? That will help you better understand and answer the question. So let's analyze sentence 2 first. Since student council is made up of elected individuals. Now, as I read sentence 2, I realized that is not a complete thought. There needs to be more information added for it to be a complete sentence. So sentence 2, I already know, is not complete. Therefore, it needs to be fixed. It cannot stand on its own. Let's look at sentence 3. It sometimes feels like people will say anything to get elected. That is a complete sentence, but now I'm going to try to figure out how can I combine sentences 2 and 3. Okay, that's what I'm looking for to do in my question. So now you're going to analyze each of the questions. The first thing you need to think about is what type of sentence is it? And then does it have the correct punctuation? Okay, so let's look at A. So A says, since student council is made up of elected officials, it sometimes feels like people will say anything to get elected. So essentially what they did in A is they removed the period, combined sentences 2 and 3, and that was it. Now, I want to ask, what type of sentence is this? Well, this is a complex sentence because the word since is a WUBIS word. Or subordinating conjunction. Okay? So I know if there is a subordinating conjunction or an WUBIS word at the very beginning of my sentence, I know that my sentence needs a comma. Sentence A does not have a single comma in it. Therefore, I know A is incorrect because A is a run-on sentence. Okay? Let's look at B. So B, again, it has this WUBIS word since in the beginning. So I know this sentence needs a comma, and it does have a comma, so let's read it. Since student council is made up of elected officials, it sometimes feels like people will say anything to get elected. Okay, I like this sentence. It's a complex sentence. The WUBIS word is since. Therefore, we need a comma separating the dependent clause from an independent clause, which is exactly what this sentence does. So let's look at C and D and make sure that is the correct answer before we circle it and move on. All right. Again, C starts with the WUBIS word since. I know it needs a comma. I do not see a comma in this sentence, so automatically I know C is wrong. I also see a period right here. So it says, since student council is made up of elected officials, it sometimes feels. Okay, that is not a complete thought. Therefore, that would be a fragment, and it's still just showing that C is wrong or incorrect. And then D says sentences 2 and 3 are written correctly. Well, we already know that sentence 2 is dependent. It was not a complete thought, so we know that D is wrong. Okay, so the best answer is B. Again, my awubis word is at the very beginning, therefore I know I need a comma in a complex sentence, which is exactly how B is structured. All right, number 2, what is the correct way to write sentence 6? So now we're gonna go back and underline sentence 6, and let's analyze sentence 6 to see, is it a complete sentence? All right, before you get involved in student council, it is important to consider the benefits of being in student council. Okay, so this is a complete sentence. All right, so now we just need to make sure if the punctuation is correct. There is no punctuation in this, therefore I know it needs to be fixed. Okay, with this word before starting the sentence off, I know that is an awubis word, and I know when my awubis word is at the beginning of my sentence, I know I need a comma. There is no comma in this, therefore it is a run-on sentence. Okay, so let's fix it and let's look at our answer choices. So if you notice, that awubis word before begins each of these answer choices. Okay, so let's look. Before you get involved in student council, comma, it is important to consider the benefits of being in student council. So this is a complex sentence because of that awubis word before, and it has a comma in the correct spot, therefore I really like F. There's nothing wrong with F. Let's continue to look at G, H, and J just to make sure. G says before you get involved in student council, this has a semicolon. A semicolon acts as if it was a period, and this is not a complete sentence. Therefore, we could not use a semicolon here. So G is wrong because of that. H, before you get involved in student council. Again, this is not a complete sentence. Therefore, it cannot be on its own. And H is wrong. And like we already said with J, that sentence 6 needed a comma in order for it to be correct. So J is wrong. And F is our best answer. Now, I want you to follow this same process as you are answering questions 3 and 4.